Good morning. Today is July 3rd, 2024. The time is now 9:02. I'm Kevin Day, Chair of the Custer County Board of Commissioners. I will call this meeting to order. If you do have your cell phones, if you could silence them at this time, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you. And I didn't do this beforehand. Would you like to do the invocation this morning? Sure. Join us for the pledge and the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join with me for the invocation, please. Oh God, our Heavenly Father, we, your people, the citizens of this county, thank you especially for our blessings and especially on this great week of celebration for the greatest nation's birth in the world's history. Thank you for all the strength and wisdom and patience and kindness and goodness that you can give us to do the good works of the county today. We pray that in your light we may see light. Please direct and sanctify and govern us in all our work as we gather today to convene this meeting to and for the service of our Custer County citizens. In Christ's name we ask. Amen.
Thank you, sir. Kelly, can we get a roll call?
Commissioner Day,
Present.
Commissioner Kanda,
Here.
Commissioner Epp,
Present.
County Attorney Dan Slater,
Here.
and Clerk to the Board Kelly Camper present.
Okay, and audience introductions. Mike, we'll start with you, sir.
Mike Custer, Board of County Commissioners admin.
Barry Key, the Custer County Workforce Housing Committee.
Caleb Patterson, Town Manager for Westlaw.
James Gilbert. Jim Shaplin.
Okay, and we do have Carol, Landfill, Elliot, Jackson, and Lisa online. So if anyone goes to speak later, please ID yourself for the record. Any amendments to the agenda?
Barry, you wanted to be after the town manager's presentation?
We have two things. One is our bylaws ratification. We ought to get that done first, so then we're going to offer an official recommendation. But
Okay.
I'd like to have that after we have this presentation with things as you.
Yeah.
Just to make more sense to you.
So you want to ratify the workforce housing bylaws before he gets up there, right?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
I misunderstood you.
So we'll just leave it the way it is. Right?
All right. Anything else? Okay.
Are we gonna?
What are you gonna do on the?
We'll talk about it when we get to that
Okay.
point.
Okay. Minutes till June 19th.
I move that we accept the minutes of June 19th, 2024.
I'll second it.
A motion on the floor to approve the minutes from June 19th, 2024. Any discussion on those?
Short and sweet. Look good.
Okay, those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. That motion carries. Commissioner items, Commissioner Webb.
The auditor's they're currently working through all of the grants. Talked to them Monday. They're gonna come up next week, a couple days. They don't know which 2 days yet. It's probably gonna be Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday. They're working around some staff, yeah, that'll be in here. So they'll be coming up. They're just gonna finish up the last few on-site items they need to finish up on.
So will that move next week's meeting?
Possibly, depending on when they actually are gonna, it could be Monday to Tuesday. So
Okay.
yeah. Got a new water heater installed here in the annex. Trying to get one more bid for the Vermont tower generator, but if we don't get it, we're just gonna go with the one we got. So.
That's what it is. One bid now is all.
Yeah. So we're just trying to get one more, just so it shows something, even if it's from Denver. Or they have a line with, compare something. Matt went up and painted the Bunker Hill radio tower building white on the south and west side and the roof, cut down the heat. Seems like it's already cutting down on the heat buildup inside that building. So I did talk to the radio club. It looks like some of that hand radio equipment is repeater up there for them. So, and then there's other equipment up there that's just been, as they've upgraded the equipment, they just left the old equipment. So that's going to get that out of there, down to the electronic storage there where landfill has their stuff, and then we'll have another roundup of stuff to recycle down in Bud Road.
Okay, well, we're talking about that. The latest on Bunker Hill and the upgrade for the TV now is they are still waiting for the corporate channel, corporate people to open the firewall, and meaning make sure that when we are receiving that signal, that we can't interfere and tunnel in and hack into their, there's a tunnel into their place. That's the holdup.
Since we're using the IP.
That's right. And so, and because of that, it's on now. The issue is the channel is aimed in the way that it's tuned, like I explained. We're getting the fringe frequencies of the actual broadcast. So some days you'll get it, some days you won't. Once they open the firewall up and we start this new process, it'll be an uninterrupted signal that'll be very reliable. I just got that update this morning as I was coming in. So they're still waiting on that. And it's however quickly corporate will act, and there's nothing we can do to push them. So be patient. And in the meantime, we'll be ready for it with that building. So cooler. That's good news.
Yeah.
Good, thanks.
And then both Jeep Liberties, just getting them ready so we can start using those as a couple vehicles whenever somebody needs to go to a conference or whatnot. They can take those instead of racking up miles on their personal vehicles. So already starting to utilize one of them. So, but we're getting cleaned out, and then those will all be scheduled through Mike Chester. So. All right, and then OEM vehicle will be repaired and fixed. So the pickup will be fixed. So.
Good.
Has anyone been in contact with them in Canyon?
I will have to follow back up on that.
Bob's got it.
Bob might have that.
Robin emailed me, reached out to Zimmerman and Montez, and so she's really, yeah, she's.
All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Commissioner Kanda.
Couple things. The long-awaited agreement with the Navajo Indian Nation has been signed, and I've got a copy of it, and I'll give one to you to take a look at. It's the one you gave us, and Kelly can stamp it, seal it, put it in the books, and we'll take and use that lot now. Good.
That's out at the airport, right?
Yeah, the airport, the lease on that lot right beside the ops building there. So we got a couple copies of that. Speaking of the airport, I'm supposed to make sure everybody knows on August the 10th, 7:30, Silver West Airport. You'll see these flyers going around town. And I'll pass this around now, but it's come on out and support it. It's music all day, different bands playing. There's vintage airplanes, and hopefully if the rain stays away, like it didn't last year. It was a great turnout last year until 1 o'clock, and then it blew us all out of there. But it'll have food. Lots of vendors have been contacted that haven't been up here before, so it's going to be a neat thing. Pancake breakfast from 8 to 10. Okay, and I'll put this over so somebody can grab it and pass it around.
Is the airport hangar lots, are those well advertised? Do we advertise those? Where are those advertised?
They are on websites in the aviation world.
Okay.
When they come up. They're very good. We only have one hangar right now, I think. Verify that.
But we do have this.
Yes,
lot
and
now.
we're working with others for the other lots, the big hangars that are gonna run south on the south end of the airport. That's what we're building a new 2 of those lots. Or rent, lease them.
Lisa.
Also, the state water, the district water engineer had a great meeting. I thought it was very informative. She did a good job of presenting that on last Thursday afternoon.
Last
Thursday afternoon. Anyway, it was, the gist of it was 3 parts. One is, we got an issue that you can't get around. They're gonna make illegal ponds legal, or we're gonna fill them in. But they're gonna, and instead of having bad bedside manner about how they went about doing it, they're gonna say, well, we're gonna give you time, we're gonna work with you. There's other options. Maybe we can give a waiver on some that can't be filled because the actual groundwater's erupting up all the time. Artesian wells exist everywhere. In some places, when you dump more stuff into it, all it does is sink and spread it out. It gets sloppy all the way around that, and it gets worse and worse. So eventually you gotta cut and run. Quit destroying agricultural ground while you're trying to do what you think is best. The other option is to get a grant and also work on fire mitigation ponds. There's several of them, and they're willing to really lean forward and make sure that the fire mitigation ponds are actively looked at for use. The rule there is, you got a 2-mile radius around each of those ponds, and if they interfere with another 2-mile radius, you got to make sure you are logically agreeing with what one should be given. Because if they're too close together, it does nobody any good. So that's the reason for that. And then the other one is, you just got to bite the bullet at some point. And if you're going to bite the bullet, it costs a lot of money that you hadn't planned on when you bought the ground, because you didn't know that pond that was so beautiful with the carp in it was just a reflection pond that's not legal. And they are looking at how we get grants possibly, or other opportunities to help subsidize some of that, because it's it, but nonetheless, it's the law. So they're trying to work. We're gonna have some more presentations, and I've asked the Upper Arc to come up and make sure they discuss all the things they're doing, because they have a vested interest in that as well, because that organization is trying to keep the water in the district, and then, as importantly, in the valley. And so we get storage in the south end of the valley that you can augment surface water with, that you see that stays in the valley, rather than taking water out of the Twin Lakes and dropping it into the Arkansas. So Kansas doesn't know the difference, but the valley does. So they're working hard. We'll see those later. And I think for now, that's all I got.
Did they talk about the Lake Louise?
No, other than that's another storage pond, but Upper Ark owns that, and they're the ones that are going to talk about raising the water levels. And that's the presentation that I want to have, covering all the things, including what Round Mountain's doing and the wells that they're augmenting to augment the water for the Silver Cliff investment. So we'll get a presentation on that as well. That's all I got.
All right. Sangre de Cristo, we approved on them here when we were down in Wetmore, the easement to go across right there by the gates of the landfill. They are putting those poles in and down the right of way
On Schoolfield,
on Schoolfield.
south side of Schoolfield.
Yes, just a quick note on that. They did not contact Road and Bridge for their permits beforehand, so Road and Bridge is now reaching out to them for that. So just so you guys are all aware that Road and Bridge is reaching back out, because that's like $55 a pole.
How far down they take it?
To the sawmill, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah. So crossing down there.
Yeah, so.
They're going across the ground. Partly.
There,
How
yeah.
they get to the sawmill, on the side of the highway?
I don't know. I would imagine they're going in there, I would say probably by the property line there, between there and the pit. But I don't know that. They didn't furnish those drawings to us, all they gave
That'd be
us.
on either our property or Rice's or whoever owns that.
Yeah. So, but anyhow, they're reaching out to them for their permits going down the right of way. The only thing we addressed was there at the gate, where they were inside our. UCOG, that mini grant that I put in for, we did receive that. I'll finish the paperwork for that today. That's on the playground equipment in Wetmore. So I will probably bring that as an item on the agenda here shortly to move forward with that. And this is what was located beforehand. I guess I would probably ask the question to make sure, because it comes in, I believe the playground comes in just under 10,000. Where does that kick in as far as going out for bid on our purchasing policy?
I'd have to review.
It was over 10.
I might look at that just to make sure that we're not going out of bounds on that. But this is MVP playgrounds, and that was what was located for that budget. Most everything is a lot higher than that, so. I'll be bringing that shortly. And then Bob had sent us all an email in regards to the application that we have for the finance department, looking for direction. Do we want to move forward and interview that applicant? Or are we wanting to hold off? He would like some direction, I believe, on that.
I thought we said wait for a couple more.
Well, now it's been probably a couple weeks, probably, right?
Bill, you wanted to leave the posting open?
Yeah.
Which it is. Then this is just an additional question. You have the one applicant. If you want to interview that person, you can, and it can still be open because the posting period is basically opened up. So you can interview them as they come in. So it's just, I need to give some direction to this applicant. Yes, we want to interview you, considerations, or, because the longer you wait, the more chance of this applicant not being interested or finding something else. This is, I would, well, people that have submitted applications previously, they're of no value to you now. It's just been too long. So.
We didn't have anybody.
Well, you had some, that maybe there's one or two that were iffy, but if the thought in your mind was, well, we still have them to go back to, I would say no. At this point, this one is close to becoming stale.
I think it's, personally, it's probably worth looking at
No, we should look at it.
now. And the reason is because it's an open-ended posting, so nobody's gonna really have to feel comfortable. When are they gonna look at it, how are we gonna do it? So I think we ought to look at it, and if it looks like we need to discuss it and have an interview, then let's get back to Bob at the end of the evening.
So are we wanting to set up an interview?
Resend that, if I can.
Yeah, resend it, Bob.
Just send it to us and let
Resend
it,
it?
and then what I'm proposing before we say, we're not setting up the interview yet until we see that, is that right? Is that the right move to make? Based on this applicant, let's take a look at it, and then we can agree then.
Yeah, because I was asking, because we did have that sent to us before, so.
Yeah, send it to us.
I'll send it, you can reply individually.
Yeah.
Saying, I would like to, and by that, I can take
Sure.
that consensus and move accordingly.
Good.
Then you can set something up if that's what we all tell you individually then. Okay. That will work. That is all I have this morning. Dan, do you have anything for us?
I do not.
Okay. Mike?
I don't have anything as far as admin, but I would like to quickly touch on the Oak Ridge fire in the eastern part of the county. Give you some information as to we've got multiple agencies that are working that. It did creep over into Custer County. It is still on U.S. Forest Service land, but they're closely watching as it nears private ground. It has not entered into the private ground as of yet. The U.S. Forest Service continues to work it, but we do have multiple agencies there as, in addition to the national, state, and then also Pueblo County. Custer County is basically just kind of in a holding pattern right now until additional activity occurs that requires us to move or take action. The Office of Emergency Management and the Sheriff's Department working closely with all those agencies over there and their briefings that they have. But like I said, we're just kind of in a holding pattern, waiting to see if we're going to be required to provide any additional sources. This morning, the update indicates that there's 756 resources that have been deployed. They have new teams that are arriving today. The acreage remains at 1,191 acres with 9% containment. And so they believe that there is a possibility that the fire will continue to grow because of the terrain, the steep, extreme steep access to the fire. And so they're going to be monitoring that over the next few days because of the dry conditions that are going to be escalated. So this is still in the monitoring stage, but they do have additional resources there today. And Custer County is going to remain on standby until further instructions are followed.
Did they change their status as far as this being a full suppression fire and change that to a different status, or?
I've not been notified as of yet on that. I know that there was some prior discussion, but I've not been notified as of today if that is the case. I know that they're going to probably be adding some additional classifications to the fire, probably within the next 48 hours because of the conditions that remain. But I do not have that update on that portion.
The only thing I can add to that, I have a little bit more, not much, because I've been involved a little bit with this particular location has never had a fire for the last 150 years. Of a reported fire. And because of that, there's a lot of tangled up dead wood and stuff that needs to be out of there. It is a hazard. And so what I know they have done is that they did put a fire break on the Custer County side and filled it in down way down a ways. To allow it to burn that far because they want to let it burn. That's what they're thinking. And then it'll hit that area where it won't cross it, theoretically it won't cross it. That would make it a 7,000 acre piece of ground that would be contained. But they can't call it contained until they get it that far because they're wanting it to actually grow a little bit. So I don't know, and that may change. I was surprised it was burning as much as it was after that hard rain, but it helped.
I think they only got 2 to 2,500s on it.
Yeah, probably 25.
So, and I think part of their management team is up here. We're coming to Westcliff yesterday. I don't know if they reached out to you or not.
And they didn't.
They said they would probably try to return next week is information that I got. So.
Yeah.
I do want to point out that the all of the agencies that are involved, including our local Office of Emergency Management and the Sheriff's Department, they're working closely with all of those federal and state agencies that are on site there and have been deployed. And all of those agencies are being very generous with their information. They are very, very open and have shared basically all of the information that's very vital in this operation. So they've been very generous with that. They also have public information boards that have been set up locally here at the post office. They're updating that every day. They've got the operation briefings that they do every day. They have the update briefings that they do every day, and they have been very generous. I do know that the Office of Emergency Management locally is heavily engaged with those agencies, as well as Rich, the sheriff.
And our fire department.
And our fire department.
Thank you, sir. Anything else?
No, that's all.
All right. Chloe, do you have anything for us? But I would ask. We have no unfinished business. New business. First item on the agenda would be the finance report from Redlands Accounting. And Lisa, I believe you're online.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. My report is pretty brief. Over the month of June, I worked with Vernon and the auditors to move the audit forward. In particular, I've been assisting in reconciling the cash accounts to make sure all of the reconciling items are identified and supported. And then I'm planning to come back the week of July 22nd, and we'll sit down with Virginia at that time and go through that whole reconciliation process and help her with some just outstanding items that have been hanging out there that need to be cleared up. Vernon has provided me with the credit card information for the UMB accounts, and I'm currently working through that information. I'm hoping to have a report to you on that by the end of July, and we'll provide an update during the week of July 22nd when I come up there. I talked to Commissioner Epp earlier this week, and then I sent an engagement letter and a proposal for services going forward. These services would include monthly reconciliations of the county's balance sheet accounts and credit cards. It also includes providing analysis of the county's revenues and expenditures, budget assistance, monthly budget monitoring, and quarterly budget reports to the Board of County Commissioners in person. So my plan would be to come up on a monthly basis and do that finance report in person. I'm planning to be, as I mentioned, at the county during the week of July 22nd to work on reconciliation of the county's books through June 30th and to work with Vernon to report on the county's budget through June 30th for the year. Do you guys have any questions for me or any particular?
She doesn't need to be here for the audit, guys,
The what?
for the auditors when they're up there.
No, Sam Donardo didn't think that she would. They can communicate with her through phone.
Any thoughts on when we're gonna be ready to give it to the auditors? Are we gonna make her turn it in? You're still shooting for what date?
So Sam was still thinking that he's gonna need a week into August, so he's gonna request, he's gonna do a file an extension for us. And because he wants a good audit this year.
And the extension will be accepted.
Yeah.
Even though we had a
Yeah.
timing.
So had we not filed last year, period, then we wouldn't have been able
Okay.
to file an
Good.
extension. So because we did file last year and we did meet at least the extension date, we're still allowed to file an extension. So, so he's sometime in August and hopefully early August. He's still trying for July 31st, but he says, I don't want to rush it and I don't want to give you guys a bad audit. So, and he knows we're working with Lisa. We're working through a lot of our things
From the past.
So he's trying to give us time to work through a lot of that stuff as well. So,
Okay.
Lisa, I think we're still $7,000 off on cash reconciliation.
Yeah, I'd have to look again and see what that exact number is. I emailed the auditors this morning to see if I could get their latest work to
Okay.
make sure that we're on track. But so I'd have to look and see what that exact number is.
Okay. And I know they've kind of been working this all from different angles to try to get to how did we, so we also found out that our cash receipting or pulling in cash, and cash is mean money, is that the sheriff uses one system, Kelly Camper uses another system, and Treasurer uses CIC. So we're all using different systems to receipt money in, and so that might be where some of our reconciliation problems are coming from. So we're just getting down to identifying what's all happening, what's the process, what's the workflow. So
We're gonna be all on the same system.
So we're gonna look at being all on the same system and maybe you all using CIC and what does that
We
look
got
like?
it.
And and we have it, so. And that would just be TCM credit cards, correct? We still need to look into Kirkpatrick.
Yes.
Okay.
UBB is okay.
Yeah, this is through UBB, so UBB is what she'll report on July 22nd. So. No, thank you, Lisa. And then
Thank
I'll
you.
put it on the agenda for next week for your contract.
Okay. And let me know if you have any questions or have feedback on my proposed services.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Lisa, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Any other questions here? Okay. Accounts payable.
Okay, so we approve it, or I will move that we accept the accounts payable report with the bottom line number. You want to copy it, Kelly? It's $292,991.85.
I would second that motion. So I have a motion on the floor to approve the AP in the sum of $292,991.85. Discussion here at the table.
None for me.
No. None here.
I had a couple I went through early on just because of the way they were, the description was on there, and that falls into where it just lists the last thing on the deal when it prints that report. So my questions were answered. Okay. Public comment. Those in favor of approving the accounts payable in the sum of $292,991.85, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. That motion carries. Okay, next item would be the ratification of the workforce housing bylaws.
It's you, Mr. Berry.
So you did receive in your packet a copy. And these bylaws have been fully revamped. It's a different setup now. It is a committee, it's no longer a board. We only need one entity, and that's really just administrative as a facilitator. But the higher level premise of this was twofold. One, it was the consensus after approximately a year from 2020, January 23 to January 24, that there was a lot of overlap and almost at cross purposes, mistakenly, but still at cross purposes. And this original board really shouldn't have had the authority to go off and create construction projects. That's something that really is the purview of public policy makers. And so what we really felt we needed to be in a position to do is provide good, solid information for public policy makers to decide what they want to do, and then be able to support that going forward. Secondly, we changed to incorporate the UCOG housing director, currently Max Hansen, into a full voting member on the board. And part of what we're doing with this now is that all of public financing will be Max's domain, will not be involved in looking for grants as a committee or a group. That'll be Max's job. He's paid to do that job. He's excellent at it, and it's a very dynamic terrain. It moves all the time. We get monthly briefings from Max on things that have changed, new opportunities, and also closed doors. So we wanted to get to a place where we also recognize that while the county's properties that we originally were focused on are in the town of Silver Cliff, the town of Silver Cliff has its own regulations and rulings that we have to accommodate there. We really hadn't been involved closely enough with the town of Silver Cliff. Correspondingly, the town of West Cliff is getting ready to create its own housing strategy that you hear more about. And for us to go off and recommend a specific grouping of housing projects in Silver Cliff, blind to what West Cliff is doing, could be redundant, waste of money, so on and so forth. So we changed this now to be a committee of research and advocacy. In addition, one more thing that we did that we felt was important is we now have in the bylaws, and you can read this in section 4, I think it actually is, but you've had time to read these things. The key things originally are the mission statement changed. Article 2, A, B, and C tells you a lot of what we're up to. And then finally, in the meeting structure, we've now made it such that the liaison member from the county commissioners, if necessary to complete a quorum to conduct a meeting, may be a voting member of that particular meeting. That's something we did not have in the past, and we felt it was another way to bring the county commissioners into more in contact with what we're doing. So that's the overview of the bylaws. And we really rewrote these. This was a collaboration with the whole committee over a period of many months after working for a year and feeling like we really had not accomplished much. After this original board had been in place for 4 years and no new doors had been created, we decided it was time to figure out a different approach to things. And we hope that this is going to be more effective.
No, I think the big thing with the board, and I think, Carol Lawhanger and some of the ones in the past had put a lot of time and effort into researching so much stuff only to find out that they really have no authority because we've got the 2 towns and their different sets of rules set up. We just couldn't move forward with it. And with the commissioners or the county not really wanting to be a housing authority or wanting to put out to the voters a mill levy to provide a housing authority, we were stuck. We need the advice. We still need the think tank to come up with ideas and generate ideas and then help out both towns who have that county or town manager to be able to do some of that stuff that we just can't do. So what can we do? And I mean, that was the big reason for the change of these bylaws and change it into committee and so forth.
Agreed, and you touched on a key thing, if I may address that. Nobody ever wanted to own anything, and that was a big problem to try to develop something. It was understandable. Now, UCOG has positioned itself to be able to do the functions of what you would consider to be a housing authority. They can own things, they can buy things, they can do development. And so that's been moving along concurrently with everything else. So we now have that basis of ability for UCOG to actually act as an authority. And that's a crucial piece to being able to move forward because for good reasons, none of the county governments wanted to own something, even if it was for a temporary period. And it caused a lot of confusion, and so we couldn't move forward on that. The other thing was, you mentioned one of our members, that we would get handwritten pounds of information on different kinds of houses, construction, different grant entities, different regulations. And while we were able to work through some of that, we realized that that's not what policymakers needed. They needed a succinct set of data that would show you the picture very quickly and succinctly, and that's part of what our mission is about now. There's an additional document that I did not make for the packet, but I did give Kelly copies of this that explains a little bit more detail, but I wasn't going to take your time to do that. But it's the document that we developed to understand ourselves how this was really going to work. And it, again, has been ratified by unanimous consensus.
Thank you, Barry.
In number 3,
Sorry.
I would ask real quick on your membership. So you've made 2 bullet points separating UCOG Housing Program Director. So that's in addition to the minimum of 5, is that correct? Or is that
That is of the
included
5.
of the 5?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted clarification because I thought that's how it was looking before, and then it almost looks different here.
I would interpret that differently.
That it would be 5 plus that. Is that how you interpret it?
That's how I believe it is written. It may not be what was intended, but that's how it's written.
So that would be a minimum of 6 members then, is how it's written here.
Okay, that's an error. It's not what the intent was. We want to hang on to those additional 4 positions for other members, and we wanted the UCOG member to be one of the 5, which is the case currently. So we can fix wording if Dan wanted to give me some help with that. I'm not a lawyer, and this was my best effort on this.
I would suggest that we just take out the bullet points, or just take out the first bullet point, and then parentheses after that bullet point say, one of whom shall be the UOCOG Housing Program Director.
Okay.
Like that?
Okay, I understand now how it looks. Right, just, yeah, okay, I can fix that.
Thank you. That's what it was looking like to me, so. Any other questions on these?
Yes. We don't have to ratify these. Well, if these don't get ratified, this does not, that's in my agenda, doesn't.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't
I got my
affect
word there for a
Well,
second, so.
bear with me. just
We don't
a minute.
ratify it, you gotta leave.
I want to
I'll be
interject
back.
something here. We've spent months on this. I would like to get a ratification with the understanding of the amendment.
Yeah, that's.
Ratified as we
Yeah.
do today.
Yeah, we're not throwing it out here, Barry.
No, no.
We were just answering his question and giving a little trash, I think.
So I want to move that we approve, we're not ratifying this, we're going to approve this, the bylaws
Workforce
As-
housing.
for workforce, I'll get into it, workforce housing as amended by what was stated earlier, making sure that minimum of 5 members included the UOCOG. That's my motion.
I'll second that.
I have a motion on the floor, take to discussion. I think I would look at Dan real quick to see if you have any concerns over any of this.
No, I don't.
I'd like to ask that question. Anything else?
Makes me feel like my job is, doing something here, I guess.
You gotta feel needed now.
Just for my phony blowing job here. Blazing status.
Any other discussion at the table?
No, thank you, Barry, for all the work on this.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. I know it's been a long process. Public comment. Seeing none. Those in favor of approving the workforce housing bylaws as amended here today, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. That motion carries. Now you guys gotta have a meeting.
Next Wednesday.
There you go. All right. So the next item up would be support of $1,000 for the town of West Cliff Housing Needs Assessment. West Cliff Town Manager Caleb Patterson. Welcome, sir.
Well, thank you. Gentlemen, thank you for having me here. My ask is going to be one thing, which will play into many other things. But first off is there's going to need to be a housing needs assessment. I did visit, well, this housing needs assessment is going to be applied for through a grant through DOLA's EIAF, or Housing Now grant. It is a 10% match. I talked to the town of Cree not too long ago. Their housing needs assessment for Cree plus Rio Blanco County was around $60,000. In your agenda, or in your packets, I kind of go over the cost and timeline of something like this. But this housing needs assessment would not be for West Cliff, it would be for West Cliff, Silver Cliff, and Custer County as a whole. So everybody teaming up, everybody putting funds towards it. The good thing about this grant is that the town of West Cliff will be doing, will be applying for the grant and taking on the majority of any of the administration needs with this grant. Now, Silver Cliff, Custer County, you guys will also be stakeholders in this grant. If you go down to the RFP, and Mr. Slater brought up yesterday in the Silver Cliff meeting to kind of seem that this RFP seemed very West Cliff oriented, so I apologize for that. I would take any and all suggestions with this RFP once this goes, before this goes out. Really, I'm just going to show this RFP sample during the grant, and then we can change it afterwards.
So how much are you actually asking?
We're going to be asking Department of Local Affairs for around 80,000. I put the number 80,000 a little higher than 60,000 because will be involving both towns plus the county. It could probably end up being 60, but better to ask for more than ask for less and then come and ask for more later on. The town of West Cliff will be paying the most, so if we do ask for 80,000, town of West Cliff, 10% match, so 88,000 would be our local match. West Cliff will pay 6,000, Custer County will pay 1,000, and Silver Cliff has already vouched to pay 1,000. I see that the county has been working on trying to get housing in for a while. This is kind of West Cliff's first step on trying to solve this problem. I've gotten approved to go for this grant in August, and then do the Dole More Housing Now grant, which is a $1.5 million grant in December after that for infrastructure for affordable housing. So those are kind of the first two steps. The housing needs assessment has to happen, then the infrastructure has to go into place. I would need a letter before the end of the month to be able to write up to DOLA, hopefully a week before the end of the month to write to DOLA. Your letter would be, you would not spend any money this year. In fact, once all the approval process is done, we hope to find someone in December. That way all the money spent will be the next fiscal year, and we'll have a housing needs assessment, the finished product, in June or July of next year.
So when do we pony up? This year or after the fiscal year?
You don't put money up front this year, but we do a lot of the legwork this year.
So we're gonna commit $1,000 and we'll give it to you January the 2nd.
That would work.
That means that what you're saying?
That's exactly what we're saying. But before, a week before the end of this month, I would need a letter basically of support and vouching that you guys give the funds. So I can put that with the grant application to go up.
So I see a sample letter in here, but Mary wrote. Is that your letter or is that a suggestion letter or what?
I think that's very support letter.
Oh, that's the other. For $1,000?
That's the committee just recommending to us.
Oh,
That's our housing, our workforce housing committee saying, telling us, hey, we recommend.
It's our first official recommendation.
now.
And I believe, if I'm not wrong, we're gonna be forced to do this every 3 years by legislature that got passed this spring, so.
On a regional level, that was one question I was gonna ask, does this qualify as a regional assessment since it's the two towns in the county? Or does it encompass more than just
Custer County?
The region's more than Custer County. It's gonna be up to debate. I don't know if the state can really mandate a housing needs assessment every 3 years, especially without giving funds to help offset the cost.
They cannot.
They can't.
See, there you go. So whether that's in the future or not is up in the air, right? Say the future for the future, well, let's just focus on the now.
So, yeah, and I have heard the same thing, though. It may not be the state itself, but I think in order to receive the grant funds, that is going to be a requirement that the housing needs assessments will be in place.
Not only that, but it helps with the developer, right? So if a developer has no idea what your needs are and kind of what different income brackets there are to offer sort of different housing solutions at different prices, they won't really want to work in that town, right? They don't know if there's a need. So this needs to come first before any other infrastructure is put in.
So what's the reason for the percentages being so different? West Cliff gonna want all the housing, the majority be in town of West Cliff? Is that how, what does that mean?
It's because I'm asking you guys for money.
No, I know that.
I think they're trying to be generous.
Yeah.
I would interpret it that way.
Agreed.
They're trying to make the pain on us as small.
That's very nice and kind, but
Well, and if DOLA came back to you and said, well, we can't give you 80, but we can give you 60, our amounts still stay 1,000 apiece, and you're just gonna go down to 4,000.
Yes, yep,
So,
exactly.
I think I saw that in your proposal before.
Yeah, yeah, I apologize if there's little notes in there that seem like don't fit in there. I got that off one of my documents, so I apologize for that. But yes, that would be what it is for. Now, and again, if you guys want to look at the RFP, it has major, stakeholders as far as the different governments, larger employers in the county as well. So this will definitely be something that we go through this night. You don't have RFP, so it's a chance for BOCC if they wanted to put their bid on there, because I know they did it before. And other companies. That's my ask. Again,
Because they have that capability now to provide those, so.
Yeah, but it's kind of, Barry, you want to kind of explain that?
They've done a great job. If you read the Senate Bill 174, it's a monster in detail. UConn now is very close to finalizing a template to allow them to actually do this in a semi-automated way. And one of the things that Max commented on is that they bid on this, that it would allow them, if they got the job, to actually hire another person to do these assessments, because they are going to be looked at regionally, and a region would be like Upper Arkansas area Council of Governments. So that's going to weigh more heavily, they think, in DOLA decisions than just an individual local assessment, but the local assessments would blend into the regional assessments.
Okay, thank you for that clarification there.
Yeah, I just can't wait. I just can't wait for you in August. I gotta get it in August, so I can put it for this grade in December.
So before we make a motion, Lucas, where would this money come from, $1,000?
I'm gonna pull it out of account. Well,
It's
we'll
budgeted
budget it.
next year,
We'll budget
yeah,
it.
it's
Well, I know, I'm saying what we're gonna, what
But I would
are you
take
thinking
it-
of? Reason I'm asking, because in the past, we said we're gonna do things, then we get surprised in the budget after we do it, that we left out something.
So we
Because the
have,
finance director is not here, you are.
right, so we have a workforce housing budget line item. And it's its own, it's account 54. And there's roughly 10.5 plus in there, between 25 and 11. And so that's where I was gonna budget it into next
And
year.
that would be you, and then the new finance director, if he's on board by next year, knowing that the budget,
Or she.
did have that, or she has that $1,000
Mhm.
allocated. Okay,
Yeah.
they just don't want to lose track of it if we decide to do it.
We've already got it, the notes put down for that, to talk about that during the budget hearing, so. But that's, since we have that account, we've talked about that.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's what it's.
You done begging?
When you say baby.
No, but you're nice, President, it is a good idea. I move that we approve the $1,000 to be allocated in the 25 budget for the grant application for the, what do we want to call it?
Housing
Can I-
needs assessment.
Can I reword your motion?
Yes.
Or suggest that you
Yes.
reword your motion?
But I'm looking.
That we pledge $1,000 subject to budget and appropriation. Because I don't want us starting to budget things in July.
Well, that's what we're doing.
Well,
We're
but
pledging it.
we're pledging it, but it's still subject to
But it's
budget and
something that he's gonna
appropriation in
commit us to
December.
now.
Well, or we could commit it now, this year, in this budget year, out of this account. I'll do a budget amendment resolution because it was unbudgeted.
That way it'll carry over.
And then we won't worry about it in next year's budget. We'll just do it out of this year. Other than what we need to be careful for is.
I don't have a problem pledging it. I'm just saying, if we're saying, hey, we're budgeting the next year's budget already, we're binding a board of county commissioners that technically doesn't exist yet, I don't think,
Sure.
That's why.
to next year's budget.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying it should be, and this is what we did last night, it's a pledge But
Yeah,
the
we
pledge
are.
is subject to the board's authority to
I like
budget
that.
and to create the budget.
That's where I was looking at, when we do have our budget discussions, which is in October, theoretically. Which is when you're gonna meet.
August, September.
We are having that then, but normally we go through the process of approving it through October. So, just wanted to make sure we remember that we're putting that in there.
Yeah.
As a placeholder that would be blocking something else, and if we had something else to consider for $10,000.
So it'd be a pledge.
So.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I move that we pledge the money in our budget as we do go through discussions this year for the work, grant application.
All right.
I'll say.
So I have a motion on the floor to pledge $1,000 for the Westcliff Housing Needs Assessment, pending budget and approval process. And provide, are we including in this motion, providing a letter now to Caleb?
Yes.
Okay. So more discussion here at the table. I do have one more question. The MOU and so when the actual MOU starts getting put together, then you're planning on working with the county and the other town, having representation there from all three parties to help write that MOU?
Yeah, in fact, I'd like a contact for that, one for who I can get the letter from, and then two, who I can ask for that MOU. Yes.
Okay. Do we need to have that in the motion, by chance, just an understanding? Okay. Yes, we can get you that information too. Kelly will be the one, I believe, that will be sending the letter, correct, or will Mike be doing that? Okay, so Mike will be sending the letter as soon as we get that done, and so you'll have that shortly.
And then just contact me for the time being. I'm going forward with that.
Yeah.
With whatever you might need.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Any other discussion here?
I don't believe so.
You haven't voted yet.
We
You
haven't
better
voted
stick
yet.
around.
You don't know if it's gonna pass.
You may lose, you may
We
lose
haven't
here.
voted yet. That's public comment. So you shut them down by walking out. Those in favor of approving pledging $1,000 for the housing needs assessment as discussed here today, signify by saying aye.
I'm gonna think about it.
Aye.
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 All right. Motion carries. You good?
Yeah.
Resolution 24-16 and D for Lot 1A, Block 1, Cornel Verde Pines, filing 6.
Is this the one we get?
This would be the sale of that lot.
Okay.
Yeah, we opened the bid and one more.
That's one.
So you do have that in your packets, gentlemen.
Looking for it.
Yeah.
Caleb left his phone.
He'll be back.
He'll be back.
We could call him, but
It's gonna cost him $1,000 to get it back. That's cheap for a cell phone. Where is it?
is,
Resolution 24-16, it's part
Oh,
of.
there it is, I see. Got it.
it's a resolution of Custer County conveying the county's interest in to certain parcels of real property located in Custer County. therefore be it resolved, the Custer County Board of Commissioners, that a quitclaim deed shall be executed by the chair of Custer County on behalf of the Board of the County, conveying to Mars Land and Cattle LLC the real property described as follows. And that's the tract 1A, block 1, filing 6, Corner Verdict Pines, a subdivision according to the recorded plat thereof. And said deed shall be duly recorded with the county clerk and recorder of Custer County and delivered to Mars Land and Cattle LLC.
I'll move that we approve the resolution 24-16 and the quitclaim deed for lot 1A, block 1, Corner Verde, Pines, filing 6.
I'll second it.
We have a motion on the floor to approve or adopt resolution 24-16 described. Discussion here at the table.
Hopefully won the bid.
Yes, sir.
Contract looks good.
Public comment? Being the case, those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. That motion carries. Okay, we have the Sage Lot Line Adjustment, Wilderness Heights. You must have been listening in. Perfect
I
timing.
did not get this sent out to you guys.
Okay.
Morning.
Welcome.
Morning.
Yeah, you got it? Okay, thanks.
Morning, sir.
Say,
It's a simple lot line adjustment. Basically, Candy's husband built a shed that went over the property line between their two lots, and she's coming to sell one of the lots. So we did a lot line adjustment. It doesn't change the amount of acreage on either lot, but it does bring that building within the setbacks, the setback requirements. So the dotted line that you see there going across is where the original lot line is. The darker line going across the two lots is what we're adjusting it to.
that makes sense. I was gonna say, how could you move it without changing the other lot? Now I can see it.
Yep,
Good
we
job.
just took the straight line and moved it a little bit to bring that into compliance.
They were deciding to sell lot 6, it'd be weird.
Yeah. Something easy that I did
Back
that we
row
can
for all
do
that
in-house.
organic
Didn't have to
equipment.
put it on.
Yeah, it's a little deep.
And I just need, if you guys approve it, I need your signatures.
All right.
I move we approve the boundary line adjustment as presented by Torben.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Thank you. I have a motion on the floor then to approve the Sage Lot Line Adjustment and Wilderness Heights subdivision as presented by planning and zoning. Any further discussion here at the table? Public comment? Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries.
Do you want to come over and sign it afterwards?
Does it just need my signature?
I just need your
I can sign it later, yeah, that would work. Or I
Did you
can
say
do it-
He
no?
said later.
He said later.
Stop.
Okay, here.
It was rattling. I
Do it
couldn't
now.
hear.
I've got lots of stuff around here.
I
on the
have
table
it
now,
for
so
you.
I'll be over here in a little bit.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Dorothy.
Dorothy.
Yep, have a good day.
Okay, everybody still good to keep going? Yeah. All right, classification audit of county positions, Mr. Smith.
You say, Bob.
Gentlemen's. You can get one way. Didn't pass those around, I didn't.
These separate.
Yeah. I get him on the. All right, so
You get one?
In my June 12th department report, I shared that effective July 1, the United States Department of Labor issued a rule change that increases the wage threshold,
Speak loudly, Bob, if you can, I know it's hard, but nobody can hear.
increase the wage threshold for executive, administrative, and professional exemptions for under the Fair Labor Standards Act. It's a two-stage increase. Effective now, the wage minimum goes from $35,568 to $43,888 a year. For these positions to be maintained, if they're exempt now, if they're going to remain exempt, then the wage has to go up. The intention is to force more employees to be eligible for overtime. Because the exemption means that those, if they're classified exempt, they're exempt from being paid overtime for hours worked in excess of 40 hours a week. If those hours exist, then you have to be paid at time and a half. So it forces the employees to be eligible to be paid time and a half. So we went through and audited. Currently, there are 15 positions or 19 individuals whose are below the new minimum salary threshold of $43,888. If not reclassified, those positions will need to have their wage increased at a cost of $74,839.51. That's not including benefits or taxes, that's just straight wages. Then increased again in January 1 of 25, an additional cost of $236,994. So
Just for those 19.
for those 15 positions,
15 positions
or
and
19 individuals. Those positions are, so to clarify at this point, as we talk about this, it's all about positions. So I don't reference individuals because the whole classification discussion is about positions.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with the individual.
Correct.
It has to do with the position
Right.
or job classification.
Right. So, I've had discussions with, well, this person is really valuable, or this person does X. That's good, but that really doesn't have bearing on whether a position is classified as exempt or non-exempt. It's the duties. So those positions are listed. Additionally, there are 2 positions whose wage meets the exempt salary test. However, in reviewing the job duties, I recommend that they're reclassified them to non-exempt, and those positions are listed. Then if you take the second threshold of January 1, 2025, currently there are 5 positions classified as exempt that are below the new minimum salary threshold, which will be $58,656 a year. If not reclassified, those positions will need to have their wage increased by January 1, 2025 at a cost of $56,967.44. I recommend reclassifying them to non-exempt, and those positions are listed. Currently, there are 4 positions that are listed below the new minimum in January of the threshold of $58,656 for executive, administrative, professional positions. If their wage is not increased, they will need to be paid overtime for hours worked in excess of 40 in a work week. To remain exempt, their salary will need to be increased at a cost of $23,495. I recommend increasing their wages to the new minimum of $58,000. So the difference between those 2 is 1, increase their wages. 2 is don't increase their wage and make them non-exempt. The second one I just read is increase the wage, keep them as exempt. Those positions are listed. And I would point out that in that listing of 4, one of those positions is mine. And so I just want, for transparency purposes, make it known. And if you want to have a different opinion, on my position as to whether it stays exempt or non-exempt, then talk to Dan or get a difference of opinion. So I just want that to be transparency, no. So the four there, I would say, my recommendation is that they stay exempt. And the others, I would say, move them to non-exempt and do not pay to increase them. I've spoken with nearly all the elected officials, department heads, and some employees impacted by the recommended changes to make them aware of the potential changes. I've begun answering questions and will schedule continuous scheduled time with them to talk about impacts and change and how it works and all that other stuff. The way the statute, the change was written, it went into effect January 1 or July 1st, and then again January 1, but that doesn't fit very neatly into our pay schedule. So my recommendation, if we do this, that the first round starts with the July 16th pay cycle. That is in line with when our next payroll goes out, and then January 16th. That way it can be in compliance. And okay. Any questions? I gave you a spreadsheet kind of to help you break out those positions. Some being their current wages below the July 1 date, and my recommendations, and those that are affected by the January 1 date, and my recommendations for those. And the wage impact for each position, if you were to pay the increase to bring that for that position to stay exempt.
So if we took your recommendation for now, this year, the July 16th is the impact of that. Do we have money?
There isn't any
Is there an
financial,
impact?
there is no financial
There's no
impact.
impact above it by
No.
changing that?
No.
Is that right?
Yeah, there's no financial impact for this fiscal year.
So their wages would be figured on the current salary.
Correct, because their wages,
And we're not changing this out.
right. You don't have to change the salary because you're changing them from exempt to non-exempt. Therefore, there's no need to
Right.
increase the wage, so everything stays
Okay.
fine, fiscally, no change.
As if we don't take action.
If you say, yeah,
Definitely make
yeah.
those changes.
if you're saying we want to make all of them exempt, well, let's put it this way, the jump from the 43,888 to where, it's a lot of money. I didn't calculate all of it, but in my review of those job descriptions, I have concerns that there's other hurdles other than wage that need to be looked at if they stay exempt.
Now, what it will do is it'll force our department heads and elected officials to watch the overtime hours.
Yes.
They'll have to watch them.
As I've talked to some of the department heads or elected officials, many of those positions don't do much overtime now anyway, with the exception of one or two that routinely have overtime, and that just becomes a budget issue. So an example, as a way to mitigate overtime, the employee can choose to have that time put into comp time, and then they take it out at time off, or they get paid overtime. And so if you don't want to pay the overtime, then they can flex it. So if they work a whole bunch of hours this week that would have had to be paid, then they work less hours in the next pay cycle. That just balances it out. Flexing out their hours. It's just more work on the department heads.
Yeah, because they would need to have a policy in place for that. So they wouldn't have a shortage of personnel.
Right, they're gonna have to manage their workflow.
or someone putting in a lot of overtime hours and then
Mhm.
ends up working 2 days a week after that. So
Yeah.
They have to use that flex time up within a X amount of time.
The consideration of what it would cost the county to bring a position up versus having it stay non-exempt is part of the equation. It's not illegal for a position that, if it truly meets the exempt definitions, it's okay to pay it as non-exempt, pay the overtime. It's not okay to do the opposite. It's not okay to take a position that does not meet the exempt requirements and take the ability to earn overtime away. So
And I think there's a couple departments, maybe adjust for a position or two in there that have the opportunity to flex time or
Mhm.
take overtime pay. Now, that's already in place in a couple of departments.
So I talked with Kelly on one of her positions that several times a year works lots of hours. That's going to have to be managed through either overtime, giving the opportunity for overtime, or comping it out. The definitions are somewhat, you have to dig into it because they talk about, let me show you. It requires some understanding of what the statute means by certain language, because if you read it one way, you could interpret it. It talks about directly related to the management of general business operations. What does that mean? Or discretion and independent judgment, if a position has that. And so it's not what you or I or the person thinks that might mean. It's the job description lays it out, and then you lay that up against the examples set up by statute. And if they meet it, great. If they don't, so then it's just taking those. There's education requirements. So that's how you come up with deciding if a position meets the requirements. Most of our positions are going to be administrative. We have a couple some that will be on the professional exemption. I don't think we have any, because of our structure, that fall under the executive. Normally those would be your county administrator, city manager type of positions.
Yeah, that really affects one person, especially like this year.
Yeah, and I went and looked at, that person would fall under the administrative, and so I've worked with that position before, and if you looked at it one way, you could argue that it does. But technically, I don't think it meets the exemption for administrative as you dig into what it's intended to be. It's important, but it's not important in the way the statute intends it to be.
So we would need to make sure that, given everything, and that we make sure everything falls in the proper category.
It's one of the biggest areas that employers get hung up on a Department of Labor audit is employee classifications. And
So it is going to cost us.
it'll cost you some in overtime. It could.
Yeah.
But not
Probably will, just looking at this year alone. I mean,
During the November election.
During budget time, we talked about it. hedge a little bit by allocating more money to have that from the overtime pot if needed.
Right.
And it's helped. Like, one of the people I hired a year ago is helping in that, and that has helped.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that continues to help.
So I can't tell you categorically, you won't have the budget impact.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
I figured one way or another, we would have somewhat of we just have to manage the other time.
And ultimately, even with, if we can manage the overtime, I mean, even if we didn't, I think it would have less of an impact as not moving forward here.
When do they pass this?
Well, July 1, but
Went
it's,
into effect.
July, went into effect
Are
July
we
1.
late getting to it, or are we
No.
on time here?
You'll be fine. There's, because it's not the pay hasn't, we haven't set out the pay period yet. We haven't gotten paid yet. So we make the changes now. It'll impact their first pay period in,
It'll take care of June 16th through July 15th.
right, first pay period that they get paid in. So we're timely.
Which is technically the July pay period.
Yes.
So you, with the split, that's the July pay period.
I've read that Texas has filed a complaint that they can't, the Department of Labor can't make the changes. But it's for Texas only, it doesn't impact us. So there may be other states down the road who challenge it. But for now, it stands, and we have to be in
It just
compliance.
seems like the feds can't tell us what to do, maybe the states can.
Yeah. So Texas has challenged. That doesn't affect us.
Well, it could if it hits.
Right. So, but in my view of
Give it back.
my view of the positions, I agree with that they need to be reclassified to non-exempt, regardless of the wage. That's all I have.
Questions?
Yeah, I know, I'll have to talk to the department heads after, if we decide to go forward with this and see what the impact hit is on them. I mean, summertime is busy everybody's got some ebbs and flows of this is a busy time for CSU, so with the fair, everything going on, so.
The impact is to planning and zoning, clerk's office, assessor's office, building and grounds, landfill.
You want to do that? We look at this on the 10th.
No, because we need to get this uploaded into payroll before the 10th, if we are gonna. No, I mean, it is what it is.
Your meeting gonna be, what the impact, how they're gonna help the impact, not whether we.
And it'll be, we'll need to look more at, maybe how we comp some time, or whatever we need to do, we just need to look through it, so have those conversations.
Part of my process implementation is spending time with department heads, more time, one-on-one with them, one-on-one with the employees, education, getting time clocks set up, they'll have to learn how to do. So there's a lot of implementation stuff, which will happen once you give me the authority to make the changes. And if you don't, then the only option you have is to make them exempt. And you're talking a lot of money.
Anything else, gentlemen?
Know why they were exempt in the first place.
I have thoughts on that, but I don't know if this is the time for the place for that discussion.
It was an easy thing to do. As
think it was expedient. They were setting up the new system. They didn't want to pay the overtime. I mean, I think there's lots of reasons.
It's been that way since I've been here.
It's
So,
just,
32
yeah,
years and stuff.
like I told you,
Well, and.
that's the biggest area of
And the
employer
definition of exempt and non-exempt, I think, may have been different in times past.
So, my goal is to not have those things happen while on my watch.
There you go.
I can't happen what did or didn't happen in the past. I can only help mitigate those things and then make sure going forward it's done the way the statute requires.
I'll make a motion that we take your recommendation and we change those 15 positions for 19 individuals to non-exempt,
Okay.
or reclassifying them.
So we're going to approve his recommendation. So I'll second it. If you made the motion.
And then there was a second half about the January 1 changes.
Well, that's the recommendation.
Okay.
I don't, this is just for.
Just for, okay, I just want to make sure. Right,
Because
okay.
we need to have discussion.
About the other ones.
About some of these positions.
Right, and there's time for that.
Yeah.
Perfect. Good with that.
Okay, so I do have a motion on the floor to approve the recommendations from HR for those positions affected on the July 1st, 2024 changes, not addressing the changes in 2025. Further discussion.
And that was for 19 positions?
19.
No,
15
employees,
positions, 19.
15 positions.
Any further discussion here at the table?
Dan, did you have anything?
No, I don't disagree with the analysis. In terms of whether you do it or not, that's a policy question.
We'll keep this for souvenir.
Only things like that.
Okay, hearing none, public comment. Mr. Gilbert.
Affecting 15 positions sounds like you guys have an awful lot of positions. I was curious as to how many positions the county government actually has defined. If you can tell me that.
I can, but not off the top of my head.
Neighborhood of 90.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but,
I can tell you, I just can't do it.
and then I'm also assuming that your recommendation takes into account equivalent positions across departments such that if a position specifically discussed is being changed, the equivalent positions in all departments are also being changed.
It would, that situation doesn't exist for this scenario, but yes. Here's an example, some of the positions are in Kelly's office, that's the only place it exists. So there's no equivalent someplace else. As far as job duties, unless I misunderstand your question.
My question more relates to the definition of exempt versus non-exempt. Because those are very general, so job duties fall under that. And the job duties can be different, but still fall under the non-exempt generalities, if you will. So I'm assuming that if that occurs, then it's across the entire government body.
Yeah.
So planning and zoning and Kelly's office, if they have someone who does exempt type stuff, but one is non-exempt, that person would be fine, or the other way around.
Yes. That, the audit that I did, looked countywide, all positions.
Okay, and lastly, it's only part-time versus full-time that affects whether or not benefits are paid.
Yes. That's a whole different discussion, but yeah, because you're getting into Obamacare Act and
Public Care Act, and the other kind of statutory requirements.
But it has nothing to do with exempting. It's just
All right. Technically, public comment, I'll just say that, instead of,
Discussion.
and your comments should be directed to the board, I allowed it, but just,
they were, but your HR director answered.
okay.
Sorry.
I'll
Trying to be helpful.
give you that. All right.
And we'd asked him to do
So-
it anyway. Rick on his feet.
Thank you for those for clarification. Anyway. Anything else? Caitlin?
CSU extension was not included in this conversation from my knowledge. The proposed changes for July is going to take place right in the middle of Fair Week, so I would like to know ahead of time how this may or may not affect my position and anything that I may do before getting into Fair Week, because that is the busiest time and I can't commit to doing something different if I have no knowledge before then.
Your position will go from exempt to non-exempt, which means
so
any
what-
hours worked in excess. I don't know if this is the time to have that discussion.
Let's have this, can you have this discussion with Bob, not in a public meeting, maybe?
Yeah, I'm a little uncomfortable about answering.
we're not
Okay,
discussing-
that's fine. I was just wondering because he had said that he had talked to all of the departments, but extension, to my knowledge, had not been talked to. So I was just making sure.
All or some, not all, but most of yours would be the one of the two or three that had not had that opportunity to.
Okay, I will come over after the conclusion of this meeting.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kate. Okay, any other public comment? That being the case, those in favor of approving the recommendations from HR to transition. How did I word that? How was that motion worded?
Approve HR's recommendation,
Or
changing
reclassification.
15 positions for exempt to non-exempt
Okay, affecting
for
in the
2024.
2024. Okay. So those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. The motion carries. Thank you for all your work on this, sir.
Thank you, Bob.
I know it's been a process.
All right.
Many more things to come.
Okay, good job.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
Thanks, Bob.
Still good?
No, let's take a break.
Okay, we'll take a short recess.
Did he shut him down?
We got 117 of these.
Thought I saw that flash there. So, we're still live here. I'll get a hold of you.
Some of those are very important too.
Don't worry, I have yours.
There's a non-exempt.
Better pull it to the top.
I've been on it for years.
That's kind of.
John Hancock, these in everybody's presence now. Did everybody sign the resolution and then, did you sign the deed?
I have not yet. I will get that
I
short.
just don't want to forget my job.
Let me start working on my stuff.
Sorry.
I'd be glad to do it.
You could delegate that to the county attorney.
No, I don't know that you can.
Say what now?
Most certainly cannot.
I said you can delegate that to the county attorney. Then while he's just sitting there, you know,
He's used to signing his name on documents, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bank won't recognize that name all too well, though.
Although you might stand. All right, the time is now 10:46 a.m. I will reconvene this meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. Next item up would be the KP Election Services Contract. Kelly?
And I've discussed this with you guys a little bit, and just to give you a little background, in the end of 2022, the company that I used to use to print my ballots and mail them out, they decided that unless you spend $20,000 a year with them, they don't want you as a customer.
They
So,
dumped us?
yes, so they dumped a lot of the smaller counties. And so we all had to find new vendors. The vendor I went with has not been the greatest. We've had a lot of problems with them. And I just don't want or need those problems anymore. And so I am switching for this November election because it's kind of hard to switch midstream here. I would like to switch to this KP LLC, is who they are. They took on, I believe there was 4 counties during this last election that used them. And all of them didn't have any problems with them. And so I want to give it a try for November. They're closer to what I'm currently paying than some of those larger companies that are quite a bit more. These guys, it looks like, from the contract, it looks like it's gonna be about 2,000 to 3,000 more. The couple of counties that I talked to after this last election said that they were, the billings that they got was right in there with what they're currently paying with, and they were all with this other company that I'm currently with too, so we just need to
Did you write this?
No, but I reviewed it.
get the contract signed, get it approved, get it signed, so that we can, because we're already working on November's election.
Did you see anything in there?
No, I'll say, actually, I thought this was, of contracts that I've reviewed for governmental entities, I thought this was a very governmental entity friendly contract, and I'm not used to seeing that.
You said about 2,000. Don't we think we have it in the budget?
Yes, I do. I'm not, if I was gonna go with one of the other companies, I may have had to get we may have had to do a adjustment, but, with the money I get back from the state for their portion of the election, I think I'm good. I know I'm good.
So a little bit more.
It is a little bit more than the other one.
Have you terminated the other contract yet?
No, and I actually didn't have a contract with them. When I asked about a contract, they said, oh, we're good, and yeah, I won't do that again.
So it's been based just upon the order, huh?
So you just been moved.
So do
They
they do
were
a
a-
contract per election then, or you're thinking
I don't
if this goes well, then?
Then I'll just move
Possibly
forward, yeah.
next year.
We just did it for this election just to get me through this year. They are actually going around and meeting with several of the counties, this next couple of weeks, and they'll be here, I believe next week, that I'm gonna meet with them. I had a Zoom meeting with them. They seem very easy. I think they're gonna be really good to work with. They seem like they have their ducks in a row a little bit better than, that other company, I think, was just too small a company to handle the influx.
Well, then 3 in 1 year.
Yes,
But they probably do multiple.
yeah.
days. Okay.
So it says on term, Kelly, it says it's for this election, this date, 24, you know. It doesn't say where the termination is. When does it terminate?
15
Yeah,
termination.
somewhere in there, it says January 31st.
Paragraph 5.
20.
Oh, I missed it.
Yeah, paragraph 5.
Shall be effective date, okay, terminate at, okay, got it. Cool. Okay, I move we accept the contract of KP LLC doing business as KP Election Services for ballot printing and mailing 2024.
Second. A motion on the floor to approve the contract with KP LLC as presented here today. Any further discussion? Public comment. Go ahead, sir.
I'll try to address the board with this, Kelly will probably answer it.
That's probably
Okay.
true.
Given the last snafu, I'm assuming that the contract has been written with some form of clause in there for failure to perform correctly and compensation or recourse.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
I got the answer.
Thank you, Kelly.
Good.
Any other public comment? All right, nothing online either. Those in favor of approving the contract with KP LLC, signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
Motion carries. I think I'm caught up with you now.
Just the resolution.
I think I handed that to you. Well, or Lucas did after he signed it. All right. Thank you, Phil. Okay, EMS authorization to operate. If you'd like to come up.
Of course.
Amazing what we have job-wise, ground ambulance licensing specialist at the state level.
Do what?
It's amazing what jobs there are.
Yes, yes, it definitely is. I believe Steph has kind of filled you guys in on the licensing.
Yeah, I think she
Hopefully.
called each one of
Okay.
us individually.
Perfect. Do you guys have any questions? We got our license approved through the state, so we have that. We got that together on the 1st, a couple days ago. So you guys just need to decide if you're gonna opt in or opt out. So,
And that would be to opt in or opt out of giving authorization to operate, not licensing.
correct, yes.
And I'm gonna ask you a question again.
Good, because I don't know anything about this, so.
Okay.
Read it
We
quick.
have one ambulance service in Custer County. Basically, and you can correct me probably if I misstate
Yep.
something here. By us either opting in or opting out to give authorization, if we opt in to give authorization, we can say this ambulance can operate in Custer County, but this one cannot. If we opt out, anybody that wants to run an ambulance can do it without coming to us. But I believe if we opt out, we can opt in at a later time.
Yes, I don't know the dates exactly, but yes.
So I guess I'm looking at you, do you see anything beneficial one way or the other for us opting in or opting out, giving authorization?
Based on what you're telling me, and understand that I haven't seen any of this, and so I haven't looked at the law on this at all. But based on what you're telling me, I would think that the county would want to have some control over who's operating ambulance services. So you would want to do the authorization to operate.
That was where I was at all of this time, but I always like to have, even if it is blind advice, I guess, by not giving you information beforehand, so.
And the county's always given us our license in previous years. It's just going through the state now instead.
So now you just need our authorization for.
Yes, if
You
you
just
opt
go for
in.
these guys.
So
And
now,
it says here, if you don't do anything by October 1st, they're gonna assume we authorize it. Down the bottom.
that's if we opt in and then don't give them their
If we decide-
authorization, because if we opt
If
in,
we did nothing. it's
we
not
have to
wrong.
give you a form.
Yeah,
showing
there's a
it.
Google link. I think
Yeah.
Steph sent it in that last email. You have to fill that out before July 31st.
And then you will receive paperwork either from us or from the state.
I believe from the state, yep.
Okay.
And then whoever, sorry, go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, in the future, just try to have her forward those to the county attorney as well.
Okay, sounds good. I'll do that.
I apologize, I didn't notice that you weren't on that thread.
And then whoever's gonna fill out the form needs this. It's just a letter. You might need it, I guess.
Yeah, that would probably be me.
Chairman.
Yeah.
So that's just what the state sent us when our license was approved. And if you need anything else, let me know. Steph is gone for a few days, so.
I'll make a motion that we opt in.
I'll say
That we
no.
authorize that.
And you have to do this annually. You have to opt in annually.
And that will take place July 1st every year. So
So we can do this again next year.
it's on your calendar to
Yes, sir.
remind us on our
Yes.
calendar,
Yep.
correct? Okay.
Correct.
So take the amount off.
Because they're on the July calendar and whatnot.
So, okay, I had a motion and a second, correct? So I have a motion on the floor to opt in on the authorization to operate ground ambulance and to give authorization to Custer County EMS to operate. Further discussion,
None from me, sir. Done here.
public comment. Sir?
Again, I'll address it to you, but if somebody else will answer it. I'm a little confused. This sounds like you're authorizing a particular service to operate.
Yes, sir.
Called EMS,
Custer County EMS.
to operate ambulance service. Can you I assume that authorization of multiple services is an option for you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
So there, you got them all from me. Any other public comment? That being the case, those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. That motion carries. I will get on that this afternoon.
I appreciate it.
And get that.
So thanks for showing up.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, bunch.
Thank you. I'll see you guys here in a couple months for our RETAC grant.
All
Get to
righty
do
then.
that again. Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is turning chat off on Zoom calls.
So I've put this on there. So after those two meetings that we held at Lang Hall, the comments got, some of them got pretty disparaging towards our own folks, our own staff. I feel like chat on a Zoom call like that is no different than people out here in the public audience having conversations back and forth openly. And I I think maybe not for our commissioner meetings. We turn them off, but if we decide to go, I would like to be a little more preemptive if we go into, doing a town hall meeting or something, we turn those off. Doesn't mean that we're telling people that they can't talk to us, during public comment time, but the chatting back and forth, I feel like would be just as insightful if we let the crowd out here just have open conversations while we're having a conversation, so. But that's my thoughts. I'd like to flip the switch and turn off the ability for them to converse between the callers on Zoom.
And they still have the opportunity for public comment, but they just don't have the opportunity to, I'll say battle, because it turns into a battle, it seems like, on there sometimes.
Yeah, and it's just when they start conversing back and forth, it's distracting towards other people. I mean, they can choose not to look at the chat, but it is distracting towards those who are listening to on the meetings, so, or it can be, so. I just wanted to bring it up for discussion. If we don't want to consider anything, that's okay. Let's have the discussion, and if we want to think about it for some months or for some time, and see what we think.
I haven't really thought about it, but thinking about it right now, one reason chat ever came up is because of COVID. But when we started doing these meetings by computers, in a meeting here, Jim could pass Jim a note and said, "Oh, those guys are stupid." All he wants.
I already did.
They all figured anyway. I was just saying that hasn't already. I'm gonna stand up and say, "What did you say on that note?" And so I could ask for that note, but here I don't look at the minutes, and I elect not to. So it's free speech. We kind of do ourselves up. I mean, I agree.
But we clamp down on it in this arena.
Well, if they start moving around, but
right,
we can't stop them from passing it on.
No, and we wouldn't either.
And we can always we clamp down on the chats too, or not chats, but public comment. If they get out of hand commenting to us, we have the same power to tell them, tighten it up, be quiet. I don't know.
I feel like it is going to be better if it's an all or nothing situation. Mm-hmm. I have concerns about the board turning off chat for particular meetings because of a topic of a meeting, because that gets into a situation where then we are making judgment calls based on the content of the speech.
What we think it is.
Right, the content of the speech as opposed to being content neutral. And any regulations we make as to someone's speech needs to be content neutral. And that also goes to Commissioner Kanda, when you suggested that things get out of hand, we'll turn off the chat.
I said
we could, yeah. And if we did that, again, that out of hand, quite frankly, by definition means we're making a determination based on the content of the chat, not the fact that there's chat itself. So
my out of hand comment was if we gave him the public floor.
Yeah.
On the chat, then we can come, or here, then we say, that's it, shut up.
Yeah, I mean, I think that clearly we can set boundaries. For instance, if someone goes over 3 minutes, the chair says your time is up and they keep talking and interrupting the meeting, here they can be ejected from the room. And that doesn't matter whether what they're saying is what the chair agrees with or doesn't agree with. If we uniformly enforce that 3-minute rule, we can enforce it. But I mean, whether you decide to turn off chat or not, it's entirely you guys' decision, but I do think it needs to be either
It's all
every
or
meeting
none. It's-
or no meetings, not just, well, we have a special
No, like
public
this.
forum where we have a lot of comments, let's turn it off.
Okay, no, I appreciate that.
It's nice to bring it up, thanks.
No, and let me, I'd like to go do more research on it, and then I'll bring it back. I'm done with that.
So I would comment, when we're in a meeting, I don't look at the chat. I've been, I don't look at my phone. I don't look at my chat because I can't do that. And have the meeting and concentrate on what I'm doing. So there's times when someone will send me a message in regards to what we're talking about or something, or hey, there's some, I've been sent a message if somebody wanted to ask a question from the chat or whatever. If I didn't see it during a meeting because I don't look at my cell phone, I don't look at the chat. But I do fully understand what you're saying. So,
Chat's is great for Zoom meetings. Somebody can say, hey, I can't hear, or hey, could you go back a page, and they don't want to interrupt the discussion. But those are great things. That it's very concise as to who's part of that meeting. When you get large amounts of public in there and chatting back and forth, then it's just different. And maybe it's something I just have not wrapped my mind around because of past experience. I'll just leave it at that. So I'm good with moving on to the next topic.
all right.
You guys are done talking about it. All right, so I brought this one up too. So moving staff reports from BOCC meeting to BOCC workshop. So is there a Tuesday that would work great that we could set as always the third Tuesday or the fourth Tuesday, or I don't know, third Thursday?
So what does this do, Lucas? It takes the staff report meeting that we do on the first of the month as a BOCC meeting.
The second.
Only, the second, so taking that second of the month meeting, putting it on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. It's just called a workshop.
And we can still have it during a BOCC meeting. It's just that anybody that comes here for agenda items has to sit through with all the staff reports.
Yeah, I get it.
So what I was trying to do is pull it into a special meeting and have separate meeting.
Could be, just break out of the meeting and break into the report stuff.
Now, if we,
I'm trying to avoid it another day walking in the weeds in a month.
so if we
got four
wanted
already.
if we wanted to not put agenda items on the second meeting of the month, we could do that.
You could do that, because sometimes, that'd be good. Yeah. I think maybe it's do staff reports, and if there's some reason we gotta have an agenda item, because we could do it during that workshop and get Jared to be the floor. But you'd have to have a 24-hour notice.
Right.
If that's what you want to do, don't call it a workshop, just continue to have that second meeting of the month. But make it kind of a unwritten policy that you're not going to put other agenda items on that meeting. So if we say, hey, we need to deal with this, and there have been a couple times where we said, well, let's talk about this on the 10th.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in that case, we'd be saying, well, let's talk about it on the 17th, because we can't talk about it on the 10th.
Yeah.
And obviously, if there's something that you need to discuss on the 10th, you maybe put that one thing before the staff reports.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
also,
that someone who's there for just that, they can leave and then have to sit for the staff reports.
Yeah, also, that's a good point. You meet, three of us meet, that's why we make it public notes. We can make a decision, so that the decision on a staff report, we're legal, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to have it that way, because we want to be able to not just say, I'll come back later, we'll put it on.
I was just trying to figure out how do we have a meeting with our staff without it making a 6-hour meeting that day. Right? And maybe it's worth it. I know nobody wants another
Well,
meeting.
and then, well, I'll bring up, because Max has put together some answers to the questions you had for those lots in Silver Cliff. And want to address those and go over all that before we bring it to a BOCC meeting for a decision. And so I was wanting to have something like that, if you got that set up to where we're not doing an actual meeting, but we're just going over things, that would fit into that meeting. I'll call it a meeting instead of a workshop, where we can, that's one of those things where we can hash things out and work things out, and then bring it to the actual BOCC meeting on the agenda at a later time. Get to you in a minute.
I mean, I have 3 items, possibly 4 items to put on the next meeting already. That we really probably shouldn't wait till the 17th to decide. So, but, right.
So,
and
do
I'm
we
not
need to
saying,
set up,
I'm not
do we
saying
need
we
to
have,
set up another meeting during the week, earlier in the week, to handle some of this stuff, so that then we can have them on the agenda later? So, yeah, that makes another day, but,
Still have to have a 24-hour notice.
well, we could have a standing meeting.
That's what I mean. It's gotta be 24 hours before the Wednesday, which would be Monday.
But we can implement one and have a meeting to work through a lot of
Or
this
you
stuff.
just do it on the afternoon of the third.
well, and I'm not saying we have to do it, I'm just again, discussion.
So what we tried to do is limit the reports,
Mm-hmm.
make them relevant reports, otherwise the written report is fine.
Right.
And if we can do that and enforce that, that might still be the answer. Then it's really giving it a lot of trial,
I mean, wasn't there an attempt, or wasn't there a policy where you had written reports, and if someone didn't do a
That's
written
right.
report, that's when they had to come in and
Or if
give
they
a
had
verbal
reason,
report?
that's right.
Or if there was something they needed the board to address. But so many of these reports are simply reading a written report that you have.
There's no point doing it.
Yes, we did do that for a little while,
We just need
and
to,
then we went away from that again. So,
So let's push for the written reports.
and then if it's something that maybe you need to talk to us about,
Right.
if you need
Then we
to
can
make
put
a
it-
schedule, let's get it on.
So if they get us the report at the beginning of the week, and then we know by that second Wednesday, all right, Kelly, we need this person on there, we need this person on there, we need this position on there. Because we have questions about their
Right,
report.
and then if the written report has some questions in your mind, my mind, we can discuss it, and then we can say, let's talk about it in the meeting.
and then, so some of these other items like the housing deal. Do we want to throw that on a regular meeting, and then go ahead and hash through all that and then make a decision, or do we want to do that at a separate time and then have it all worked out before we come to it?
Well, I think the one with Max Hansen needs to be special meeting, separate from a BOC. I mean, there's a lot of avenues, a lot of options, a lot of.
Yeah, there'll always be a need maybe for a special meeting, different meeting than our regularly scheduled meeting.
So,
That would be ad hoc as it comes up.
So if you want to set something up.
okay, I will send something out to him and see his availability, and then check ours as well. I'll get a couple dates from him, because he would like to come and work through that.
Okay.
Okay, and we will go to, I'm hearing we're gonna ask for written reports again, and if next Wednesday is when that is due, is that too short a turnaround for this change for this month, or do we do that?
Let's leave it the way it is this month, and
maybe, already done. Yeah, let's leave it the way it is this month. And then let's,
Afterward.
We can give them that information next Wednesday when we meet with them and tell them moving forward, if they could submit us the written report during that first week of the month so that we can look at it for the meeting on the second Wednesday. And if we have questions or need to see them, then we can contact individual department heads. I'm good with that. Sound good to you? Okay, next item would be the Custer County Shooting Range Memorandum of Understanding.
Yeah, I left it on here just so we could have the discussion. It was initially put on, we're working the agreement, and that's a good thing, because there never was one, on, with the sheriff, the schools district, and us. Not have to be worried about scheduling. It never was scheduled. Would avoid the conflicts for meets and those kinds of things. The sheriff's office was working that and did a good job of coordinating it. And in the end, the issue was, the reason for now was because the fair's on coming up and 4-H needed to practice and all that had to go on. And they had a new principal come on, a new district superintendent. So Reggie Foster took it on as a board member and representing the school as well, and as well as 4-H. So that got cleared up. So that they were able to practice. And in the meantime, their memorandum hadn't been finalized with a signature yet, hadn't get here by the end of this meeting. And as soon as it does, we can do this next week on the agenda to formalize it. And that way you can take a look at the agreement. You've already got it.
I gave my change, I've already sent my changes to all y'all.
That's right. He did that this morning.
Into Jen.
Into Jen, and Jen's gonna send it over to the school.
Yeah.
Reggie already has that,
Does she?
and so she'll do the initial superintendent that as well, since Reggie's the president of the committee, but she also handles.
Right. So everything's working, nobody's gonna be not sharp on their meets now, and everything will go on.
I would like to ask the question then, especially with you here in the room, because it was advertised for a public shoot at the Claybusters shooting range. Enter at the gate that says Custer County Road and Bridge.
That was way back when that happened.
Way back when is 2 weeks ago.
That was 2 weeks ago.
Well, that's way back.
First
Well,
fundraiser already.
But
They
I think part of this is that this understanding is that this is county property. It is not a right to be there. It is extended as a courtesy for the kids. And that is what it is. It is not to be used as a private shooting club. If they're gonna do that, they need to go down the highway a little ways to that range. Because when we do that, we open ourselves, I believe, to a lot larger liability. And I don't believe we would be covered under our coverage at CTSI.
So from what I understand, that's why we have this MOU, so people understand what the rules are. And we'll abide by those. And the Playbusters are part of the school, they're part of the program, so.
It's not just the insurance, it's the fact that they
Wait,
have travel and shop
Right.
and profit, which implies it's like a branch of OSHA and they're
OSHA.
very strict. Also don't need anybody out in that area at all.
So, yes, if we got people traveling the roadway, as soon as you go in that gate, you're technically in the permitted pit for the county, which falls under MSHA regulations.
So, who's gonna
So-
be the scheduler, Jen?
So that will be Steve Connecting, he's the sergeant with the sheriff's office, and he also is the new range master.
and they're gonna put it on a Google Calendar so that people can see it. They cannot make any changes if they want to schedule a shoot 4-H or Playbusters, they need to schedule it through him, because he will also keep track of the
Sure.
sheriff's office.
Right.
So, and the sheriff's office does take precedence because, you know, that's what it was.
They
set up
have to
for.
use it, they have to stay current.
Yes.
And
So-
forgive me, I did not get to that copy or with the changes you sent. This MOU will be between us and the school district, correct?
And the
And
sheriff.
the sheriff.
And the
And
sheriff's
the
office.
sheriff's office. Okay.
So we'll consider it next week, is that
Right, yeah. Hopefully it'll be signed by then.
And he said she would talk with, Tom, the new superintendent.
What's his name?
Tom, I don't know his last name. He just started yesterday, I believe was his first, or the first was his first day. So he's got a lot of slightly
Catching
more
up.
important things on his plate. And
Where's my
Playbuster's,
office?
Playbuster's season is over, and 4-H will be wrapping up soon. So we're not in a huge hurry necessarily, because Playbusters won't be needing that. They were, I think the reason why they were trying to push is because they had to hold fundraisers, which cannot happen on that property. So.
Okay, that's all I have.
I'm gonna get you a public comment, how's that? I apologize, I went right on down the list.
You covered
Okay,
what I was going to talk
my
about.
apologies, we didn't actually end up with a motion on the floor, so, anyway, so.
Carmack, got it. He felt it.
All right, so I'll go through that MOU too and look at it. Any additional items of business, gentlemen?
So the 24th, not the 22nd, will be our 6-month budget review over at the SAR building. Probably have it over there.
And there will be no BOCC that day then.
There will be no BOCC meeting that day. 24th.
Mike, can you make a note of that as well?
It's my birthday.
It's
your birthday? Happy birthday.
On the 24th?
Yes.
Might have to have something for you.
No, I won't be here.
That's the 24th of July.
24th of July, so if we could send a email out to people to let them know on that. I'm trying to make sure we get information disseminated. When we changed our AP run to today, rather than the month end, we did not get that information out to all of our department heads. So I'm trying to be diligent, maybe going overboard, getting information out, so that everybody knows where we're at.
That's fine.
9 o'clock.
Yeah.
To noon.
As long as it takes all day.
I'll put noon down, just to keep me happy.
A lot going on to discuss.
Okay.
It's good.
Anything else?
Not from me.
All right. Public comment. Yes, sir.
Yeah, your discussion about the chat business and the Zoom meetings. There are multiple different processes where you can manage how the chat works. One of which is turning off the interpersonal chat. For instance, the only messages in the chat going anywhere go to, say, an administrator of a meeting, like a co-host. Mike could be a co-host. He could manipulate the management of the meeting via comments into chat. So you can do that. Just from my point of view, since the First Amendment was brought up, the meetings you have over Zoom make it much more convenient for everybody in the county to be informed of what's going on. And Zoom allows them to participate as if they were there by the hand raise function and things like that, however you do it. And as such, it becomes essentially a bigger meeting hall. In that sense, as far as I'm concerned, there's absolutely no stifling of freedom of speech because you've given everybody the opportunity to do that. The chat is freedom to argue and freedom to denigrate, freedom to do other stuff because it's hidden from people who aren't watching the chat. And, you know, and I agree with Lucas, it gets nasty in there. So as I was once told by a CEO of a company, if you want to say something, you stand up in the meeting and you say it. You don't write it down somewhere. So as far as I'm concerned, and I'd probably be an affected person if it was a violation of the freedom of speech. Yeah, I don't think it is. If you turn off the group chat to everybody and just let everybody, in all your meetings, and just let everybody communicate directly to a host or something, or by hand raising.
Thank you. Anyone else? That being the case, I will adjourn this meeting at 11:00.